Hey, Pete Winarski here, founder and CEO of Win Enterprises LLC, and I am enjoying what could be the tail end of the summer, sitting out here on my deck with you today. And I'm doing this live on our Pete Winarski page in Facebook, on our More Revenue, More Profit Facebook group, and then also switching onto our YouTube channel, trying that out. So we're getting a new angle, which means that we've turned off doing this live on the Business Leaders Goal Achievement Mastery Facebook group. So jump over to More Revenue, More Profit. That's where to catch this. So catch this Facebook Live in the More Revenue, More Profit group. Go there, do that. It's amazing for you. We also take this content, we grab the audio and we put that on our podcast. So the Business Results Radio podcast. If you haven't caught that, not only will you catch some of these Facebook Lives that are repurposed for the podcast, but there's a whole lot of other podcast content there. So go there, grab that. You can go to businessresultsradio.com or just go on iTunes, put in Business Results Radio, put in my name, Pete Winarski. You'll find us, right? You'll join us. It'll be amazing. So today's conversation is like, how do you cope with stuff, right? Stuff happens all the time. And not just in the business environment, right? It definitely happens to people, human beings, every single day, where there's challenges and you've got to figure out, well, how do I handle this and come out the other side in a good spot? I've got a couple examples that I want to just fold into this. Obviously someone passes away, somebody dies, and you're like, oh my God, so they're gone. What do I do? And I want to share with you the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross framework for coping that applies. She created it in that situation, but then it applies in all of these other possible ways. Like whenever there's a life event, a big change. She first wrote about this in a book from, I think it was 1969, right? And the book was on death and dying. So clearly that was her focus. And the model's been around a long time. It's just that it happens to apply in some way in a lot of other situations. So presenting it to you today, the stages, think of DABDA. One way I heard this years and years ago, early in my career, was Dabda Avenue, or the street of Dabda, DABDA. Because what the phase is, when you first get some major bad news or major news, think of it as life-changing. It doesn't always have to be bad. It's just life-changing or big news. It starts with denial. And then it goes DABDA. Let me just tell you what that is. Denial, A, anger, B, bargaining, D, depression, and then A, acceptance. Finally getting through. You've got to go through the phases. This is one important thing to recognize. You can't just like, oh, I'm not going to go through that phase. I'm going to stop right here. Well, when you stop right there, you don't get through to the other side. At the first day of Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success seminar, I've been going, way back when it was a 7-day, then it was a 5-day, then it was a 3-day seminar. No matter what duration, on day one, what Jack talks about is you have to break through the stuff that you're going through. You can't go around, you can't avoid, you can't run the other way. You have to go through. And there's a whole lot of techniques and methods to help you to get through. This Kubler-Ross model is one of those tools and techniques to put in your bag of tricks, your tool set to help you. So with that in mind, right? So let's say somebody does pass away. At first it's like, no, that can't be, right? I just saw them the other day. And then you get angry about, how could God do this to us? How could God take this person from us? Or maybe mad at yourself for the last thing you said to them wasn't very nice, right? You kind of irked at them and you yelled at them on the phone or whatever, right? That's anger. And then bargaining, it's like, oh man, if only, right? And maybe if only I did something different, or, obviously when somebody dies, you can't necessarily take them back. But if there's some other major change, well, what if we did this instead? And maybe they would come back to me, like a divorce or a breakup, right? Well, if I was nice to them and I said this and I asked nicely, they'd come back, right? And so, that's the bargaining. And then depression, you're sad. You're just sad about it. It's like, oh man, this sucks. This is really crappy. And then finally you get to the acceptance step, right? The acceptance phase. And finally, all right, I can deal with this, right? So you want to get through all of those phases. Now, obviously, this came from the death and dying environment, is where it was invented. But what about a divorce? What about having gotten fired? What about, I'm just talking about life events here. What about all of a sudden there's a pandemic and you're forced to work from home, right? What about, something happening in the environment around you that just is horrible and you've got to deal with it? So this is about, you got to go through those phases to deal with it. So here's a situation that we've been working with in our office. We just had an employee, someone unexpectedly leave. It happens in the business world all the time. They were getting the high level of frustration. They had a lot of other challenges outside of work, and then ended up landing sort of the perfect job opportunity that made a lot of the other personal things work well. And so it was like, of course, they wanted them to start right away. So we got like a week and a half's notice, and we did our best to like clean things up really quick. All of the employees on our team who are left to work are going through this same process, DABDA, denial. Now, I found out the day that I was heading on vacation, right? So I'll tell you about my journey. Right? My personal journey was, wow, really, man. Well, I'm glad you're telling me the day that I'm heading out to leave on vacation rather than waiting till I got back. Thank you very much. And then I was on vacation the next few days, right? For a long weekend. And it wasn't until I got back that I'm really starting to even think about what to do. I was thinking about it, but I wasn't like dwelling on it because I'm like vacation mode, man, right? So that was like that's clear denial. She's not really going, right? And then last week, the last day was Friday. Today's Monday. Trying to figure out, well, how do we get clarity on all the projects, and how do we get a good, clean baton pass? And of course, there's frustration with that. You're like, oh man, things aren't as I thought they were. And, well, so what do you do on a daily? Let me see your list. Like, well, there's got to be more stuff here. Where's all of the things that you do on a daily basis? And so that list was narrow, very light. So, well, let me try and verbally pull it out. Let me interview you and write down all the answers. And, man, you end up with, things are not the way I thought. Right. So I found myself over, kind of the last half of last week getting a little bit like, you got to be kidding me. Now I got to deal with this. What a pain in the ass this is. Blah, blah, blah. But pain in the butt. So you get it, right? That's the anger phase. You're going to go through it, right? It's just part of what you do. And then you get into the bargaining, which I think I did a little bit with myself. Like, oh man, what if we did this? What if we did that? And you start to go through regrets. Oh, what did I do or say, right? And I actually asked those questions, like, what if it was this way instead? Would the person have stayed on, et cetera, right? So, you go through all of that. And then finally, depression and then acceptance. I'm not sure I was really hit of sadness. Maybe it's not here yet. Maybe I'm not at that point, but, I'm certainly, if I'm not all the way through to acceptance, I feel like I am, but if I'm not, then I'm close, right? And I'm almost there. So I was talking with members of our team earlier, and of course, remember I found out the news and then I went on vacation. David found out the news and had to deal with it, right out of the gates. So he went through and hit the anger phase before I did. He's like, I can't believe this is happening this way. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, man, you go through it, but he's not there now. Right? He's through it. Christina on our team, we're talking about. Saying, I don't know if I'm mad. Well, listen, you're not going to stay mad, but you're going to get irked or tweaked or something. So don't push back on it. Just allow it. You don't have to go, rant and rave. Just go through the process. Break through so that you can come out the other side more quickly. That's what this is all about. So how to use this model. This could happen when you're frustrated with something. This could happen when, like we talked about obvious things like dying or a divorce or you got fired or whatever, right? That sort of thing. But, work related. Think of your business. A major customer just canceled on you. They canceled their order or they canceled their contract. That sounds like what a lot of people had to deal with in like March, right? Because COVID was happening. All of a sudden, I know for us, we had big projects and big conversations where there's going to be all kinds of things going on all year. And now it's like, well, maybe next quarter, like maybe we'll start. Well, you got to be kidding me. So do you get mad at the germs? Do you get mad at the mask? Do you get mad at the COVID virus? What do you get mad at? You don't but you do. I mean, that's the point. You go through the phases and you get angry it could be a split second, but you got to go through it. And then you get through the bargaining, the depression, and the acceptance. The faster you get through that process, the clearer your thinking can be. The clearer your thinking is, the better off you are on layering the answers, right? Let your intuition do its job. One of the things I found was actually I had gotten off of a meditation practice for a little while. Like I had just fallen off in the previous month or so. And so I made the effort and made sure that I got back into the practice, just do some daily meditation as a way to be grounded, as a way to allow things to process. And I got through stuff a lot more quickly than I would have if I was staying in my logical brain trying to force my way through. So go through this methodology, the Kubler-Ross model, DABDA. Just notice that these are the phases of coping with a big change. This is what you can't avoid it. You have to do it. You have to go through these steps and then do things to help facilitate and get you through them. And if you're stuck, ask for help, right? That's really the point. Don't try and do it all yourself. Success is a team sport, so expand your team members. Don't get stuck. All right. Great chatting today. We will catch you again on Wednesday.